This video was recorded in front of a live virtual audience. Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Today we're going to be reviewing something inside this pouch. And that is actually smaller than the pouch would appear because the pouch is used for, is usually given for timeless classics in a small to medium size. But I asked my sales associate, I always do when I buy these bags, like, can I have one of those pouches? And they usually say yes. So inside of this bigger pouch is a smaller bag. And we will be reviewing today the the Chanel mini rectangular bag in black lambskin with silver hardware. Before we get to the review, I would like to let you know that this video has been filmed live in front of a virtual studio audience. So I have my co-reviewers in the chat right next to me, and I will be reading all of their comments on this bag and on Chanel in particular. So thank you guys so much for chatting with me. And also thank you so much for tuning in and watching. If you haven't already, but you like my channel, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. You can also push the join button next to the subscription button and become a member of the YouTube channel. There are different tiers to choose from with different perks with every tier, and they are very, very cool perks. You can also join me on Patreon and become a patron today on superdacob, all spelled together. And I would like to thank all my members and patrons that are also in the chat and that are helping the channel sustain itself. Thank you guys so much. Let's get to the review. This is how I keep, this is the original actually, this is the official pouch that you get with these bags. And I first and foremost want to say, Chanel, for the price you're charging, you should be treating these little babies just like the timeless classics. And you should be giving these microfiber pouches with all of your bags. Like, what gives, Chanel? All of your bags deserve the best treatment. I'm not a big fan of these. I do put it on top here to separate. This is how I store my bag. So to separate this chain and the leather from the lambskin on the bottom here, from the flap, I put this in between to protect it. But, however, if you don't have a good connection to your sales associate and they don't give you the microfiber pouch that they give for timeless classics, even for the mini, then this is what you get. You get literally this cotton, quite rough to the touch. They do have two different versions of these pouches. One that has like sort of a softer interior, almost like fleece interior, and then a version that is just full on cotton, rough, raw cotton, like this one is. This is dreadful for leather. Don't put your leather into this. So this is a kind of a close-up of it. You see the texture of the cotton. It's not the best. That's what Chanel does. I think for the, since their last price increase in particular, but even before that, but in particular since their last price increase, like all of their back, like you're paying so much money. The least they can do is give you these microfiber pouches, which are amazing. They're so soft and incredible. So you put the bag in here, you can put your chain up here, but usually with these minis, I store the chain like this, and then I put in between the cloth, right? So then there is the little turn lock there. And this is the felt that separates, that protects the leather underneath here with this leather, so it also doesn't scratch against each other. You see, this black has a blue base. So I say this with all black leathers when I talk about them, not just black leathers, but black colors in general. Black it's not a pure black. There is no such thing. So blacks in fashion production are made either with a red base or with a blue base. So if you have very strong spotlights illuminating the black surface, like I do here right now while I'm filming in the Fashion Bunker, the very strong lights will tickle out the base color from your black. In this case, it's blue. And you can see that there's a bluish tint to the base of this black color, which is really fine. I think this is a good choice for silver hardware. For gold hardware, I think it's always best to have a black with a red base rather than a blue base. So I have made a video on the topic of comparison between caviar leather and lambskin leather, because there's always a lot of debate between what is better, what lives better, what results in better wear and tear throughout time, caviar or lambskin. And you could go check out my video. I'm going to post it in the card section up here or in the description box down below. I do come to conclusions in that video, so check out that video for information comparison between lambskin and caviar. I can tell you that as far as this bag goes, the first mini that I ever purchased was a square. I have had extra minis before, but the first mini, because we have two versions, you know, in the Chanel lingo, right? There's the square mini and the rectangular mini. That's basic. And now there's a 255 mini. Since 2019, we also have a 255 mini. All these three are single flaps. So the first mini I purchased was a square mini, and it was in Jersey. And I was so lucky to have found a square mini in Jersey because I love, you know, Chanel Jersey bags. That's the quintessential Chanel. Coco's first 255 bag was in Jersey. So after that, I can't remember this one. Oh yeah. So this one came in November 2018, I think. So I really wanted a black lambskin mini. I was not really particular about whether it should be square or rectangular, because I like both, honestly. Mind you, the square came before the rectangular. None of them were made during Chanel's time. They're kind of a reconceptualization of a small bag that were made in Lagerfeld times. So doesn't matter. But anyway, the square was edited or came out first, and the rectangular later on. So I am kind of more leaning towards the square. I do like the proportions of it. This one is a little bit too long. It could be maybe a centimeter shorter, just to have better proportions, but it's fine. I love it. I love it to bits. I don't care about the centimeter more like, but the square one does, I don't know, just looks better worn. However, I did want a lambskin, and I have to say it's living up very well to its name, to the lambskin name. Is it delicate? Yes. Will it scratch easily? Yes. But guess what? With that pouch that Chanel doesn't want to give you, the microfiber, you can clean it and buff out the scratches, the more superficial scratches. Now, what you do get with the bag, what you should get with the bag, is what I use to keep the chain in. So I keep my chains inside these microfiber pouches. This is the microfiber pouch or glove, as they call it, to used to clean the bag, or whatever, to kind of, you put it on your hand, and then you can buff out scratches and stuff. So it really does help. And it helps with lambskin. It doesn't really help with caviar. Once you scratch caviar, it's scratched. Lambskin is more buttery soft. The leather is more malleable. It feels more like butter. It feels like you can move it more. In fact, let me get the chain out. Okay. In fact, with caviar leather, even though this bag is leather inside and out, it feels softer than, let's say, the bag that I have also reviewed. You can check out in the card section up above. My METIERS Paris / New York / Egypt. Kind of calfskin, semi-patent gold, completely gold, rectangular mini. Now that one is very boxy and stiff, and you can't really squish it or nothing. But with this one, look at this. It's completely soft. Like it's very, very, very soft. This lambskin is so supple, and it smells delicious. In fact, even the side here, this little tab bit, you see how bendy it is? You don't get to do that with a lot of Chanel bags, that they're like so soft. Like this, I mean, it's so soft. And I'm not damaging the bag. You might think, don't bend it. It goes back into place. It's just that organic feeling. And that's the beauty, ultimately, of lambskin leather. It has a flexibility to it. That's what feels luxurious. It feels almost like it adapts to your body. You know, it adapts to your needs. This one is a bit more forgiving. I say never overstuff your bags, never overfill your bags. I would not recommend putting too much into this. Yes, it can expand. Sure, you know, but it's a tiny bag. It's not meant to be, it's not a tank, okay? So anyway, you can see how the lambskin reacts to, hold on a second. Okay. You can see how it reacts like when you bend it. So the flap, so it's been bent in this shape. It's been shaped that way. But if you were to open it, you're going to see like wrinkles appear here, but they disappear the second you stop, the second you close it again. You see those little wrinklets, like those little sign, look at them. There they are. And now we close the bag, we stretch it again, and they're all gone. Look at that. That's how soft, I want to say caviar all the time. That's how soft lambskin is. Okay? It's that flexible, and it creates those tiny micro little wrinkles. But truth be told, in the texture of lambskin, you get to see almost all kind of the pores or the little holes or the parts from which the hairs were taken out of the leather. You get to see all of that. It's that soft. So if we kind of zoom into the texture, you get to see the grain. There you have it. You see that grain on the leather? You can turn it towards the light so you see it almost. You see that whole texture of that leather. Look how soft it is. You see, just press into it and you get all of those little kind of wrinkles and lines. Yeah, that's because it's just so supple, and the leather is thin. You see, and it just like pops open again. It just pops up when you let it go. It is that thin, but it's robust. It has a flexibility to it that you don't get with caviar. Caviar feels like it can dry out with time and then it can crack almost. Not with lambskin. Lambskin preserves that suppleness. And that, what I've tried to show you on camera, is exactly the suppleness that we love from our Chanel bags. Now, a lot of other cases have, you know, like for example, you show a bag like this and it looks a little bit wonky. It looks like this end is lower than that end. And then you're going to have floods of comments pouring in on social media, whoever posts the bag, like, it's wonky on one end and then the other. It's not. Actually, why this happens so often, all you got to do is actually, no, wait, which one is down? This one. It's because when you store your chain, usually you pull on one end. So in this case, we store it on this end. I do. So it kind of pulls, which side does it pull down or up? It doesn't really matter. But why does it look wonky and how you can fix this? Super easy. Look at the side of your bag. So this side that seems to be more droopy is only appearing so because here we have squished it more so that this kind of falls more down. On this end, look how elevated it is. That kind of semicircle, that little dome shape is more elevated. You just got to put it in shape. You just got to fold it more down. Okay, you just got to put it into shape. The bag is going to follow you. The bag is going to do what you want it to do. And then when you turn it around, it's straight again. So you just put it into its, you put it into its place, basically. You squish it here, then it's lower here. If you squish it more here, then it goes up there and down here. It's totally normal. All of these bags have some sort of slight wonkiness that you can totally adjust. And with the wear of your bag will adapt. So I can pull it more up like that, or I can pull it more up like that. And it's also this bottom panel. See? You see how it moves, how it flows, just by pushing it a little bit in or out. So, matter of fact, this is not a reason to say, oh, the bag is wonky when you're purchasing it. Sure, in the factory, some of them get already folded, like pressed in a certain shape. Some need a little bit of teasing and tweaking. That's not an issue at all. At least it's not for me. So as I said, my bag always adapts a little bit. So when I start wearing it, you pull it on one end and then it gets more of a shape on one end, then more on the other. Just like I showed you, when you open the flap, you get those little wrinkles, and then you close it. It's this kind of organic feeling with this one. In fact, with the more boxy ones, if you check out the review of my golden Métiers d'Art Paris/New York/Egypt rectangular mini, that one is like perfectly shaped. It can't really move. It's stiff. So from the get-go, it's been shaped that way. This one is more organic. So everything about this bag flows. It's just such a beautiful buttery consistency. Nevertheless, it has a structured bottom so that it keeps it in shape there. So in fact, when we go, to look at the bottom of the bag, of course we're going to have this straight, a bit more stiff bottom that has been padded extra. It has an extra layer in there to keep its shape, just to keep that kind of structure that whenever you lay it flat, it always stays there. The inside of the bag is leather as well. Hold on, I've wrapped myself. Okay. So I have some tissue paper in here to keep it in shape. All right, so in this case, we got always when you have your silver hardware, if you have silver hardware, your stamp inside is going to be silver. If you have gold hardware, your stamp inside is going to be golden. That's also something to always note. This little bag was made in France, and it's always hard to see. You got to open it a lot and then reflect the light. Oh, it's rare. I usually can never get the light to filter in there, but there, here you see it. For those few seconds it focuses, it actually... Come on, camera. It's always a drama with these. Well, anyway, you saw it. It says made in France. Anyway, so we got black leather interior with gold stamp and gold hardware zipper. So we got a pull zip here and a little extra. And then we got an extra pocket here where I have more tissue paper to separate the leathers. And then we got a zip pull here where I keep my authenticity card. And that's it. Otherwise, it's one compartment. Down in that corner, we have the sticker with the batch number or the serial number that matches the number printed on the authenticity card that is in the zip pocket in the back. If we flip the... So, and again, let's see. Look how flexible this is as well. Super flexible. In the back, we have that so-called Mona Lisa smile pocket. Super cute because it's a reference to Chanel's bag. However, on a bag this small, this pocket really, it doesn't do much. It's there it's symbolically there. I wanted to say symbologically. Can you believe it? I'm losing it. Symbolically there. But you're going to stretch it out very easily if you keep putting stuff in. I mean, nothing really fits in here. You can't really put a phone in there. You should not, because you don't want to stretch this tight, nice, well-sitting leather there. Because, and I said this in my other Chanel bag reviews, especially of these bags that have these older concept pockets that are inspired by the 50s Chanel bag pockets. Why is it not focusing? Okay. You know, these pockets were invented and made like this and stitched this way in the 50s with the 255 bag to begin with. So that's a time it comes from a time where there were no smartphones to carry around. So these little tight pockets were used for tickets for the bus or what have you, maybe a little bit of change, not coins, paper money, and that's it. This is not meant for stuffing your technical appliances in there or cables. It just isn't. It's going to stretch and not in a good way. Another delicate aspect of this bag is the chain with the intertwined lambskin leather. Very, very delicate. You could check out my video on the Chanel chains and wear and tear and preservation of Chanel chains, also in the card section up above, but also in the link that I will post in the description box underneath this video. So I go into depth on the chains of Chanel bags. I can tell you one thing though. The most incredible chains that are intertwined with any material when it comes to the Chanel realm, it's the lambskin chains that are the best, because the way the lambskin interacts with metal is incredible. It feels like the metal is melting. It feels like metal has turned to butter. Because the way, the whole nature of how it's intertwined and how lambskin feels to the touch and how it interacts with metal, it's divine. It just feels so rich and heavy, and the heft, it makes the metal feel like it's a heavy, buttery material, and the smell is to die for. But so it works really, really very well. Now I am a fan of it. Works. The best Chanel chains that are intertwined with anything are the ones with lambskin, because they do have just that extra texture, organic feel to them. It really feels like the liquid, like the metal is liquid. I am a fan of Chanel gold hardware more than silver. Matter of fact, I only have 3 Chanel bags with silver hardware, of which one is like vintage. It's the Millennium 2005 bag, which different concept altogether, but with these like kind of classic-y looking bags. This is the one with silver hardware. And then I have one, I have the 255 in the 226 size with ruthenium hardware, which is kind of like aged silver. All the others are variations on gold, because I love my gold. But I did want one mini with silver hardware. And I'm actually really happy to have the rectangular with silver hardware because there's something very fresh about it. I can't really put my finger on it, but the way... Listen, I style gold with anything. I also like silver, and I like to mix gold and silver. But there's something about the mini in this shape with the silver hardware that just... it gives it a certain lightness. In gold, it would have more heft. It would... Silver does give it a certain lightness of being. I don't know. It gives it a certain... It makes a whole bag. And I think it's because of the combination with the lambskin. Because on caviar, I do prefer gold hardware. But on lambskin, I'm fine with both. And I do think that this silver just elevates the bag into a lightness. It's a more kind of less formal attire. You know, it just becomes more, even more easygoing. Now, granted, you know, I baby my Chanel bags. I don't, I'm not going to go out and about with a Chanel bag and be all bumping into stuff. You know, when I wear a Chanel bag, I'm like, don't come too close to me. I got my baby with me. And in fact, I think psychologically I went for silver hardware on lambskin because I'm so scared of lambskin scratching that I think The silver calms me down a little bit more, because if it were gold with the lambskin, I would be even more like, don't come close to me. But because it's silver hardware, I'm a little bit more chill. I don't know why. It's a psychological thing. Silver kind of makes me less hysterical than gold. So I don't, because already lambskin makes me scared, but I'm not as scared. It's fine. It's fine, especially because it's silver hardware. So that's something to consider. I don't know if you go through the same thought process when you're buying a bag or when you're thinking about buying a bag, but to me, silver is a sign of more chill, more cool, more calm, and gold is more like, be more careful. So I've had this bag for several years now. How is the wear and tear? Now, granted, I don't wear it every day, but let me see the edges. Are there any scuffs? So what was it, like 2 years now I've had it, more or less. Of course, I baby it like nothing. You know, I baby it. I'm very careful. It's always on my lap. There are no scuffs, nothing. The edges and corners are beautiful. I have not creamed it with anything. It only lives in this microfiber, which keeps it going. I do caress it, so it does get my own essential oils on it. Is that good or bad for the bag? After all these years, it seems it's doing a lot of good to my bag, because it doesn't seem like it's dried out anywhere. It looks still supple. It's very soft. The smell is still intact. I don't know. I just feel like the heritage of Chanel is either jersey or lambskin. Caviar is more young and fresh looking, more just out and about, you know, but you got to be very careful with it because it doesn't age as well. But caviar is also very Chanel. I don't like the new Chanel caviar leather, which looks even more plasticky and pebbly. And the bags that suffer the most from the new caviar leather are the minis, because the minis get that really textured, small, beady caviar leather. I don't like it at all. I only like the old school Chanel caviar leather, which they still use. They still use the old school Chanel caviar leather for their timeless classics. So that's where you still get the old school caviar. So I do believe it is harder to make that one than the beady looking one, because the beady looking one is utilized en masse on all of their more mass released products. Hence makes me more suspicious of the quality of it. So I know a lot of you are dreaming of the caviar rectangulars or squares, but try to get a vintage one with the old school caviar, the bigger pebbles, the bigger grain, because the new ones really, I don't like the new caviar. It looks like plastic to me. I mean, you tell me, I mean, whoever's watching this video who has experience with the Chanel minis in particular, as of a couple of years since now, that new caviar they use for them, it just doesn't do it for me. It just doesn't do it for me. Lambskin has preserved more or less its quality. Depends, you know, from batch to batch. They do vary. You got to be lucky and a bit patient also, and wait for the right one to hit. Of course, you can't be too patient because they go up in price once or twice a year, which is insane also. But I did wait because I did want a particular shine of the caviar leather. I did want it to be made in France. I didn't want one made in Italy. And I wanted, if possible, a silver hardware. So I had to wait 1 or 2 price increases, unfortunately, to get to the one I wanted. But if I look back at it now, with the prices they have for these bags, the prices that they want for these bags now, like this one was like a great price for back then, if I think about the price they want for it now, which is insane. Right now, I think they've outpriced themselves. Now, you could check out my Chanel price increase videos, or actually you could check out my video, like I said, no more Chanel bags for me. You're going to see me explaining the reasons why I don't think most Chanel bags are worth it anymore today. I think that the brand has outpriced itself out of the ballpark of quality meeting just what it is, really, no, it ain't worth it anymore. I think they just went overboard with their last price increases. It just went insane to a point where it's just like not justifiable anymore. But I did get this one before all of those crazy price increases, so this one was still within that realm of too expensive, but within reason, justifiable for what it is. If you want to buy into the dream, which is what I wanted to do. So in that respect, it's fine. I am super happy with it. For the price this one had back in 2018, I would repurchase it again. I definitely would. I would recommend the Lambskin. You would have to baby it like crazy for sure. But it's worth babying because it gives you so much joy and satisfaction, and it's such a tactile bag. It really feels like butter to the touch. It's fun to touch it. No pun intended. All right, you guys. So that's my review of the, I want to say timeless collab. Well, you can't really call this one a timeless collab. Well, the Chanel Rectangular Mini with a double C lock, silver hardware, black lambskin leather. Let me read your chats in the comments. Oh, I forgot you had this one, says MK. Yeah, I do. Beautiful bag, says Brendan. Candy Fluff, thank you so much, Brendan. Candy Fluff says, oh, I'm a sucker for silver. This bag is so nicely sized. Aisha says, me too, Candy, just my size. Brandon is sending us cool shades. Emilio says, this size is like a wallet for me. It is like a wallet, like a thicker wallet, definitely. Brandon says, chain. Emilio says, the biggest jumbo size is so small on me and the chain is really short. Brandon says, dang, how much do you stuff your bag? LOL. Jumbo size of 255, Emilio says to Brandon. Debbie says, Emilio, I'm a tote bag person now. Louis says, oh my God, so exciting. This is the bag that I'm thinking of getting, but in fabric. Oh, fabric is amazing. The ones that Chanel released just now as their pre-spring-summer, in their pre-spring-summer collection, the tweeds, the purple one and the kind of aquamarine one, they're adorable. They're just delicious. And they went down in price a little bit because the tweed from last season cost the same as the leather, but the tweed from this season is cheaper than the leather one. So they did go down in price, in a weird way. Caleb says, it's like a dust bag for shoes, but worse, actually. Yeah, Caleb. You're talking about this one. You're right. It exactly is like that. Amina says a girl is 1 meter and 90 tall. Everything is small on me. Brandon says I have only been carrying a wallet myself, honestly. That's the thing. I'm very much susceptible to the size of my bag. If I know I'm leaving the home with just a bag this size, I find a way. I just take the essentials that fit in here and I'm done. If I do have a bigger, like a huge bag, I'm going to stuff it. I'm the person that keeps filling until it's full. If it's a small bag, I'll manage to fit whatever I need into a small. All of a sudden, I don't need anything. If I have a big bag, all of a sudden I need everything. It's a psychological thing. And I'm sure a lot of you also have that. Aisha says, yes, Caleb, I was thinking shoe bag too. Yeah, totally. And that's what they give you. Literally. You spend so much money and this is what they give you for the bag. Unless you don't beg them for this. This fell. I have to pick it up. Sorry. MK says, Emilio, I used to own an extra large 255 and the chain was still a kind of short to wear crossbody on me. Millie says, Emilio, you tall. Daniel says, beautiful bag. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Paul Parker says, yes, Caleb, for shoes, dust bag. Yeah. Candy Fluff says, they could at least provide a decent pouch for it. It is like they are trying to cheapen their image. Crazy. I know, right? But if you ask them, they usually do give you this, but you got to have a good contact to your sales associate because they usually give this only for the Timeless Classics and the 255s. Candy Fluff, MK says, Candy Fluff, they've been giving those black dust bags for years and even decades. Yeah, they have. That is true. Paul says, that's why some of blacks look navy blue. Exactly, Paul, and some look red. Um, Brandon says, I dress too grungy that I look homeless when I carry a bag in stores, usually feel profiled. Yeah, but that's the problem. You know how people are. People judge so quickly that it's in their nature to profile, unfortunately. Unfortunately. Is jersey like the fabric used for jerseys? No, Chanel's jersey is the type of jersey used in the 20s for undergarments, usually for men. And jersey was a woven wool fabric, actually. A very thin woven wool fabric. Brandon says, I own zero Chanel. I'm ashamed of myself. Don't be, oh, that's so cute. Daniel says, apart from perfume, the only Chanel I own is a card holder. I had intended to buy a 255, but now I have gone off. They cost too much. Brandon says, how much was the card holder, if you don't mind me asking? Okay, well, that's a question for Daniel to answer. Debbie says, just perfume and makeup here. I prefer vintage bags, not designer. MK says to Daniel, that's why I have stopped buying their bags for now. Can you imagine I paid my 255 bag €2,450 back in 2005? Miranda says perfumes are magical. In mourning and longing, I still be able to smell the chosen scent of someone. It's precious. To smell the perfume of an admired stranger, it's the closest thing to contact. Same happens when you smell the good leather of a bag, let me tell you. Brandon says, I don't even own a Chanel fragrance. I've only had samples. Well, you could live off of samples. MK has a lot of samples. He gets like a whole full-size Chanel perfume bottle because he gets like 50 samples of each one of them. um, MK says, Dacob, call me crazy, but every time you review your Chanel bags, it feels like watching a chocolate dessert recipe masterclass or some food, yeah, sexy time. The way you explain details always looks so delicious. Thank you so much. Thank you, MK. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And talking about the bottom of the bag, Amelia says, we love a structured bottom. No pun intended. A stiff bottom, not so much. We prefer structured bottom. Oh my God. Amina says, beautiful. Thank you, Amina. Thank you. MK says to Daniel, yeah, that's crazy. After I got robbed last March, I was contemplating the exact same 255 I lost on a pre-loved site. It was only €2,000, decided too late and lost it for good. I'm still so sorry. Every time I hear you talk about the robbery, I'm like always shocked every time I hear about it. Daniel says, Dacob, I believe you can get mini lights to shine in your bags when you are showing them. Yeah, but that's not going to work well with the camera. Uh, because then it messes up the whole color setting, you know? Because the mini light would have a different temperature than the spotlight. It's complicated. Um, that's a good question. Aisha asks, I wonder what bag Coco would design today. It would be comfortable. I'm sure she would still be using fabrics. It would be slightly bigger than the 255 because she would consider that people might want to take their computers on the go. She would think about the dynamic person that is on the go. And she would definitely think about structure. She would definitely implement straps that are comfortable, but that also she would think about the length to fit the shape of the body that's evolving. The female and male anatomy has changed and evolved from the 50s. The new generations have different heights, different size, proportions have changed. So she would have changed the length of the chain as well and the thickness of it according to the necessities of the wearer. She would have definitely added more pockets in on the inside, I believe, but she would have not played too much with leathers. She loved fabrics, you guys. We tend to forget this, but the quintessential Chanel bags are fabrics. Um, Scrolling through. Audrey says, I love my 2005 Caviar, not as beautiful as my 1996 Lambskin. Now, Lambskin always, I mean, for the aesthetics, it always beats everything else. Lambskin is just the way, the suppleness of it all. Yeah, just another Roger says, the new Caviar looks like outlet quality. I totally agree with you. Totally. Totally. Oh, yeah. Olfactive stories. I have lambskin jackets. Really nice feeling, but quite fragile too. They are very fragile. Especially shoulder area and under the armpits. Like if you pull here, they can rip there if they're too thin. So Diego Gold says, my only one Chanel bag is the Petite Grand Shopping Tote, and I got it in a secondhand shop for $250. It is beige. That's a great price. Just another arch says, it's quite the opposite on me when I'm using a tote. I tend to carry less, only for the purpose of stuffing it with accidental shopping. Okay, that makes sense. If you already go out of the house thinking, I'm going to stuff it with stuff I buy. I do that too, though. But then again, I carry the big one because then I'm going to fill it up more. So there you have it. We're back to square one. I will get something pre-loved, says Pedro. Otherwise, no way. My wage is in Uruguayan pesos. So it's, yeah. I get it. Aisha says, Dacob, the bag you describe Coco making today would be good to explore with your lovely illustrations. Ah, you want me to draw it? Channeling Marinarest Coco. My Coco's Marinarest. I'm going to draw, I'll be channeling her. My Coco Rest. I will be channeling Coco Rest. Actually, maybe the bag should be called Coco Rest. I now want a chocolate Chanel bag. Ooh, by the way, I've been looking for years for a certain hue of brown leather Chanel bag. Haven't found it yet. Apparently, the newer Caviar bags are better quality than the last few years. I've not managed to see one in the flesh, but be interesting to compare. Yeah, it would be interesting to compare. I've only seen the really bad ones. So, yeah. My Coco Rest. I love it, right, Aisha? Well, I think with that, we can end the video. It's a beautiful comment to end the video. My Coco Rest sounds amazing. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this, the review of this little joyful bag. There it is. Again, you're doing your little wobbly thing, aren't you? She's so cute. There she is. Little bag says goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much for watching Dacob Review Me. It was fun having you here, you guys. You guys. See you all soon, you guys. We had to have a little bit of a quirky moment there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And you can see on the side here my wonderful patrons and members who are part of the Fashion Bunker community, who help support the Fashion Bunker. Thank you guys so much for your help. I want you. You can become a member too. You can subscribe to my channel, but also push the join button right next to the subscription button and become a member today and get extra perks and access to special videos. You can also join me on Patreon, superdacob all spelled together. On Patreon, there's a huge archive of videos from the past years that have not come to YouTube. So there's a lot to experience and funnel through over there as well. And also, thank you so much to whoever decides to subscribe to my channel, because it is amazing. The more the community grows, the better it gets. Thank you guys so much for that. You can also join me on my Instagram profile, Twitter, and Facebook, superdacob all spelled together. But for all of you Chanel lovers, for you, I have extra special treats. You can join me in my 2 Chanel Instagram profiles that I curate. One is called Coco Chanel is in my house, all spelled together. On that profile, you get to see my entire Chanel collection and everything related to the news of Chanel of today, what the brand is up to these days. But if you wish to go more heritage, more true to the roots, actually it can't get more true than the actual roots, which is Coco herself, then go follow me on Coco Chanel Privé, all spelled together. There you get to see only images of Chanel and her work during her lifetime. It's kind of my way of keeping her spirit alive, you know. It's as if I mean, it's a fan profile page, obviously. I'm not affiliated or associated with the Chanel brand at all. I just do it for the love of Coco and for the memory of her, but I try to keep her memory alive through that page. So that's something to think about. If you're looking at that profile, it almost feels like Coco is posting herself. Obviously, she's not. I'm very clear about that. I'm not taking over her identity at all. I'm just for the love of her posting and for the respect of her posting. So to just keep her memory alive. There you have it, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. The little Chanel bag and I wish you all farewell. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, never forget to never give up on love. Love you all. See you soon. Take care. Bye.